Hey, good morning, Larry.
Hey, Ed.
I'm on my trusty cell phone because I'm expecting people at the door at 9:30.
Oh,
So did you have a good holiday weekend?
yeah, very, very nice holiday weekend. Yeah, great weather and spent the day
Yeah, we're
driving around yesterday. All
that
good.
that's the best thing when the weather holds up and you don't have to deal with any weather issues.
Yeah, it was very nice. Hopefully you had a chance to enjoy a little.
We did. We had grandchildren. We had great granddaughter. We had son and daughter, in-law, and another granddaughter. So we had a mixed bag of people over the weekend, which was perfect. And then we finished it off with the sister-in-law and her husband for dinner last night.
Oh, you had a great holiday weekend.
And the best thing is I didn't play golf, and and did a lot of work around the house. I really enjoyed it.
Good, Ed. Good. Andy, I don't know if you know it, but good morning, Andy, that Ed is a great grandfather.
Yes, I did know that. That's
Yeah.
fabulous, Ed. Fabulous.
Thank you. We're our granddaughter's expecting number 2 in December.
Right. Okay. That's great.
Wow. And Andy, it was a holiday weekend here as a military guy. This was yesterday was Memorial Day, where we
Right.
remember those who fought fighting the British in the Revolutionary War.
I see. I see. Okay. Well, yesterday was also a holiday here, and we were marking the fact that we got so fed up with you all that we gave it back to you.
But they kept Canada.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yesterday was our spring bank holiday. The end of May, early June we always have a day off on your Memorial Day, spring bank holiday we call it.
My daughter in Germany said that they had a holiday yesterday. And I said, what holiday? And it's Pentecost Day.
Yes. Sunday was Pentecost.
Sunday was Pentecost. Yep.
Yeah, it was.
So that, I think if we work hard enough, every country will find the very beginning of the summer and the end of summer as an opportunity for a holiday.
Yes.
Whether it's religious or cultural.
I'm reading a fascinating history of the discovery of the source of the Nile, and she just covered how religions tend to grab like, ooh, hey, we're going to need to keep those holidays. If we want people to become, in this case, Muslims, we're going to want to keep some of those holidays. Yeah. So suddenly we're celebrating Pentecost. Like, why? Well, because we're about to work hard all summer.
Yeah.
By the way, if you guys want something that's off brand, she writes so well. Sometimes you got to think about something other than work, right?
Yes,
this is Candace Millard, Millard, if you don't know her. She's a fabulous author. Just finished her history of Winston Churchill's experience in the Boer War. Fascinating, really well written. And now I'm reading River of the Gods. She also wrote a history of a president whose name will come to me in a moment when I've had a little more coffee. Yeah, but her stuff is fantastic. Anyway, Joe, good morning.
Good morning.
Did everybody have a good long weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Good. I'll answer for you. Yes, you did. Class, anyone? Hey, Andy, by the way, thank you. On
good stuff.
Magic. Oh, yeah. So, guys, this is the textbook for the soon to be announced facilitation training, and it's a 2-part, and Andy has helped me see the light, but we're setting it up as a 2-part training. One will be 12 hours of online, and that's explaining facilitation, and then we'll do a day of live workshopping, so we can do the same thing. Do the same thing with some certification, which is that we got an echo from someone. Have anybody logged in twice? Oh, it was Joe. Was it you, Joe?
Yeah,
Cool.
I think
Or
Joe
Ed.
changed communication devices. I
Very
think he switched from
cool,
phone
no
to
problem.
the car.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we're going to do the demonstrate and imitate portions live. And the concept is to be able to do the explain portion that, we'll do it as a meeting, but mostly chalk and talk, using this excellent book as our textbook. And that'll be 12 hours. And then a similar format to the launch course. So similar format to the launch course, 4 hours each day over 3 days. And then we can offer, if there's enough interest, we can offer the demonstrate and imitate live, and we can book it up, for example, on the day before the summit or on the day after the certification class. So it becomes a module we can offer in tandem with other events. And I've got to say, guys, the response, thank you all, people who aren't on this call, a couple of you guys, the reaction to separating certification and the summit and the reaction to the summit has been super. So, that it makes the two events very, very clear. And I am fired up about the summit. Anybody want to discuss that this morning? Any thoughts from last week and what I subsequently posted? Andy, again, thank you for the AI stuff. That's killer.
Did you find that interesting?
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? The concept to me of being able to enhance our strategic planning using AI is
Great blog,
right? Being able to integrate AI into the clarity strategic capacity analysis is also a no-brainer, but it has to be done in a way that, it's not, we don't want to be the Wild West, right? We want to do it very intentionally. And then, well, those are my two.
yeah.
But then being able to, you've been playing with it, playing is the wrong word, developing replicable techniques. And that's what we want people to be able to, pull on a tool set and say, okay, I want to answer this question. Because after our conversation last week, Andy and I stayed on, and after our conversation last week, I went and did some, I've done, you guys, there's some in the book, in the Growth Driving Advisor. There are some examples in the community already. What happens if we use AI to then take the data and turn it into a first pass of a deliverable, and it's very, very powerful, right? How do we better explain this to the client? So,
hey, George, just
yes.
on that particular point, John Denny my price just went up, not a huge, but a little bit. So he's just offering some additional AI along with the product. And I haven't looked at it very much. I'm just in passing, but he's already created the prompt. So if you want, I don't know, 5 reasons why the client ought to do X, Y, Z, then it spits it out. There's another prompt that says something along the lines of create 5 LinkedIn posts on the subject of blah, blah, blah. So anyway, just along it, so it supports what you just said.
Absolutely.
We'll provide that in Circle for free, Steve, and more.
Yeah.
Well, I already know how to do a lot of them, most of it myself anyway.
But it's interesting. I mean, just at that, what for those of us who've experimented, that those sort of basic prompts, that he's charging for that. That's
right.
That, the monetization thing. We're probably more advanced than that in terms of the prompts. I can show you prompts that build a complete empathy map for pain and gains, and develop really strong, detailed personas with which then you can develop messaging for those personas that attract them to you, etc. I mean, these are some pretty strong and powerful prompts that I've been
Absolutely.
playing around with. And business model canvas, generate a business model, a business model for a particular business, and it will just spit it out as first look stuff. Yeah.
First look stuff. That's exactly right, Andy. You just said it. First look stuff. And I believe, and it, obviously hasn't played out yet, but I do. It has to be true that businesses that figure out how to harness artificial intelligence, machine learning as a force multiplier, right? People are like, it'll replace jobs. No, maybe it will replace some jobs, but it'll just make those people do different things. It'll free them up to maybe do more advanced things. But the businesses that figure out how to purposefully integrate AI and to use it as a force multiplier to increase, in simple terms, efficiency, those businesses will be more valuable, right? They will grow faster. They will be more valuable. They should be able to generate higher margins than their competitors. And that's what we want to help our clients do. And I'm really, really fascinated and psyched to be we're not on the leading edge, but to be in this vanguard of the application of artificial intelligence to strategic planning and to strategic execution. It's going to be fun, guys. It is going to be fun. And it is not a magic wand. If you work with it, you'll see, it's a force multiplier. Barry's back. Hey, Barry, how are you, man?
Okay, how are you?
Doing well. Welcome home.
Well, thanks.
How was Florida?
Excruciating.
In a good way, I'm sure.
Other than spending as much time as I do with my two of my 4 granddaughters, it was excruciating.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Disney World is it's an interesting place.
But painful.
Extremely painful, Larry, and it rained for like 2 straight days, and it's walking in the rain is, without a golf club in my hand, is the worst.
Right. Is it the type of rain in Florida where it steams up? Rain comes down and the ground steams up? Or is that more like a July rain?
That might be a July rain. This was,
Yeah.
at times, it was absolutely torrential. They all wanted to wait at the Magic Kingdom to see the fireworks, and it want to wait. So I went back to the hotel, and 2 hours later they came back because the rain was just torrential.
I'm sorry, man.
But there were, out of the 5 days, there were probably 3 that were delightful, and we had a great time. It was great to spend time with family, but the destination wasn't the best.
Got it.
A lot of unhappy parents leave Disney.
Well, they leave Disney unhappy because they left all their money there. Everything is.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, lunch could cost $40 for 2 people.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah.
Oh, easily. Oh, easily.
You're in hot dogs. Yeah, man.
And that's just chicken fingers and hot dogs.
Yeah. I remember it well.
Well, eventually you won't have to go. AI won't have to go. AI will replace Disney. Yeah.
Are you talking about Vegas?
Yeah.
No.
Are you talking about Vegas?
So,
Thanks.
yeah.
George, when you were talking about AI, interesting to see in my mastermind peer group and clients embracing AI. And I've seen them change resistant, but many of them right now are truly embracing AI. And I like the energy, what I'm hearing in business, people not running from this, but smartly approaching it the way, Andy, you were talking about. Now, Andy, some of the prompts that you were talking about, which were excellent prompts, is that open AI? Is that the 3.5 version, or go ahead?
Yeah, that's mostly using ChatGPT, but any language-based system, you can put the prompt in. So you could use, if you want to pay a bit more for Jasper, for example, or Bard or something like that. But yeah, any open language source. I tend to use ChatGPT plus, ChatGPT 4, and sometimes I then compare it with Bing and so on. But I don't use Jasper. Jasper's pretty cool though, but it's a bit more expensive. So, but I don't use that. But yeah, these are just prompts you just feed into ChatGPT.
Now,
Andy,
Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Larry.
just one last, Andy, staying with that. So you put in a sophisticated prompt, you take the answer, you put it back in, you refine it. You use that in business. Who owns the content? Let's say the content is rich. Who owns that content?
We do. I mean, there's lots of talk about this, but essentially we do. We own that content because, you know, it's content that we're manipulating stuff, and it belongs to us. Yeah, it belongs to us. There's still lots of, I don't know, in months to come or years to come that may change, but for now, yeah. And it is, in terms of this sort of thing, it is a little bit, though I don't have a legal mind or background, but it's a little bit of a Wild West out there. But essentially we own that content. Just as if we generate an image in Midjourney, we own that image. So, but it wouldn't surprise me if you know, the lawyers get to grip with all of this and start to say certain things about content. But for the moment, we own it.
It's interesting because from a legal perspective, what AI is doing, it's going to other publicly available sources and pulling information and then, you know, and then putting it into an organized. And it'd be, from a legal perspective, to say that you own the process, that you can, as IP, there's no question. To say that you own the output of the process is difficult. And if you think about that in the context of, let's use our own context, right? You use Clarity to analyze a client. You use the Growth Drive methodology to, you know, to run an engagement, and 3 years later you have results. Who owns those results, right? It's a very similar, from a legal perspective. You used our intellectual property to generate those results. Can we then come and say, frankly, I'd love to be able to. I mean, that'd be a lot. That's a lot of money. But it's difficult to make that leap. You know, where does it? And there's intellectual property is not my thing, but there is a very, very well established and rich legal stare decisis on these concepts. Be surprised if they're able to come back and say we own it.
So let's take the example that I fed to George and copied into you, just using the growth drivers to feed that in and generate that set of action plans for the key results.
Yes.
So, you know, you could ask the question, well, who owns that now? Is that still Growth Drive? Because we use Growth Drive. You know, it's a minefield really at the moment. But for the moment, so far, yeah.
Well, and if you want to look at adoption, how likely are we to use? Let's just pick Bard, right? How likely are you to use Bard if Google suddenly comes back and says, "Oh yeah, well, thanks for using Bard. We now own everything you produced." You're not going to go back to Bard, right? So that would become, from a policy perspective, it would seem to me, and I'm often wrong. I stood on a chair at Cisco's headquarters in Manhattan and argued loud and long, passionately, that pictures on your phone was just a fad that wasn't going to go anywhere. So don't take my word for it. But I may have missed that one. But anyway.
Yeah, I've got a question for Andy. I haven't done this extensively, Andy, but I've done some back and forth between ChatGPT and Bard, and Bard came in second by quite a bit. Have you experimented?
Yes, I have. Yeah, and I find that too.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I find that that's why I keep using ChatGPT. I haven't played around with Jasper because they don't really do I don't think they do a free version of Jasper. But yeah, I have looked at that, and ChatGPT for me is still coming out #1 at the moment, but I haven't checked it against Jasper. Yep. That seems to be the gold standard for the moment. But you know, the key to this, if I might just say, is as always, it's not, because AI is not ChatGPT. AI is part of that subset of ChatGPT is part of the subset of AI. But the real key to using this in business comes down to, I'm just turning to some notes I made, because I want to get this right for you. It's putting 4 things together that makes this very, very powerful, and the multiplier that George talked about. Yeah, it's a combination of, keep talking while I do that. Yeah.
While you do that, Andy, Larry, let me ask you a question. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
You got it, Andy?
No, go on. Ask the question while I
Larry,
find
what do
it.
you think? Larry, we have, I have the contract from, we're going to Fort Lauderdale for the summit. Now for the certification, the vendor is doing some renovations, but we could use that harbor view room. Do you think that's big enough?
The harbor view room is the main room in the,
That room where we held where we held the workshops, the smaller workshops, the one at the hotel next door.
so that room is good for 1, 2, 4 tables
Yeah,
of so 12
12 is our number.
12's our
Mhm.
number, not counting us,
Not
because
counting us.
we could sit on a small table.
Yeah.
So 12.
I mean, 2 tables, 3 tables of 4. Right?
Yeah, 3 tables of 4, that works well.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, cool.
Okay, and we could probably squeeze 14, but after that, you got the post in the way, and
Well,
then you
we're kind of committed to not the table, not the one, not the gallery. I'm talking about the one at the harbor view. I don't know if you ever saw it then. Did
oh, you
ever-
know, I walked in there once to grab everyone for lunch. That
Okay.
room is longer, more narrow.
Yeah,
I would say 12 as well there. Yeah.
yeah, I would think 12. Okay, cool. I'll call them. All right, sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Andy, did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, just about. Yeah. Okay. So the powerful thing is to use the ChatGPT, the open source, with no code software and robotic process automation is the third thing. And the fourth thing is tech-enabled outsourcing. So it's ChatGPT, an open source language tool with no code software, because using the language tool, you can ask it to write code for you and then put that code into the relevant software to generate what you want. That's second thing. The third thing is robotic process automation. And that's the real exciting bit. The classic example of RPA is the chatbot. And then the fourth thing is, because businesses don't necessarily have time to do this, then they outsource it, you know, to the Philippines or wherever they want, providing the information to the guys to be able to do what you want, particularly in the case of building workflow sequences with robotic process automation. Essentially, it's a posh word, but essentially it's a workflow that begins with a trigger. So you have a trigger which then starts a sequence of events. It's like processes, you know, in the days that the manual process. If this happens, then we do this, then we do this, then we do that, and we get that output. Now, automating that is robotic process automation. So you get a trigger, set up the work sequence, and it will jump to do stuff for you. And using the AIPs, it will jump across to different bits of software as well, so that you end up with a product. So, for example, if we were talking about deep dive clarity, for example, the trigger would be that the clarity has revealed the bottlenecks in the growth drivers. Okay, revealed bottleneck, trigger, generate a report, you know, using those bottleneck growth drivers to produce me a set of key results and actions for each key result and a performance indicator for each key result. Mm-hmm. So the output being that once you've done the deep dive, you've got this report, and then you can actually get the report templated in the way that you want as part of the process. So it's there as your first look deliverable report. based on those particular bottleneck drivers. You can set up the triggers in any way, but essentially that's an example of how it could be used within the Growth Drive community. And that's where businesses, in terms of increasing productivity and efficiency, will really benefit. As I've said, that fourth component, because I'm not clever enough, you know, I've described that, but I'm not clever enough to do it without learning quite a bit. I would then find someone who does know that, who is you know, really savvy, and outsource it. You know, just as George is outsourcing his software for Clarity, same thing. Those guys are probably pretty clever and could do the thing I've just talked about. That's where the businesses will benefit. Putting those four things together: generative AI plus the no code software plus robotic process plus outsourcing it to someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, Steve, you're on mute, man.
There was an article in the news this morning that in some handful of years, all the employees in the fast food industry are going to be replaced with AI.
Yeah.
They're already, there's one chain that for the drive-through it's already done, and they're moving to other chains now. I remember, you know, the humans, they upsell about 56% of the time, but AI upsell 200% of the time. So
yeah,
anyway,
because there's a great example, because the human forgets to ask that question: do you want, you know, fries with that, or do you want the upsize with that? AI would never forget that. And so you're going to get that conversion all the time. Anything which is process ripe, anything manufacturing, for example, process driven, we've seen that already with robots, is ripe for robotic process automation. However, you know, I was reading an article, I think it was an article in McKinsey last week, which saying that essentially 85% of the jobs in 2030 have not been invented yet. So although there's going to be a sort of bottoming out of those process jobs and people will lose their jobs, you've got this huge amount of jobs that will be created, you know, that as I say, haven't been invented yet, and we're talking of 7 years away. So there is that.
I think there's something wrong with the overall system, because we all agree with what you just said with that study. However, does anyone think our education system today is set up to make that happen?
No, it's definitely not. I'm a governor of a local high school here, and these are questions that I ask, being on the board of governors. How are you coping with AI? What are you doing? Are you set up for it? They're not. And university is even worse. There's a huge challenge there. I mean, in looking at using AI in schools, it will catch up, but I think there's going to be quite some considerable time before it does. They're more concerned with plagiarism at the moment, and particularly at university level, not so much at school level, but at college level, definitely.
You know, what's interesting here in New Hampshire, by the way, 10 days here in New Hampshire, the governor has been really focusing on VOTech, you know, and those VOTech, that's vocation and technical, but the VOTech, one, to beef up, you know, we need machinists, right? But also to say, hey, for kids who aren't on the college track, but who, you know, these are smart, capable people, let's put them, why don't we focus VOTech on these emerging technologies? And it's an incredibly smart play, it seems to me. You know, there was kind of the death of VOTech in a lot of states, but I'm glad to hear it coming back. Everything right.
You can pose the idea that for large companies, mid to large companies, and they will require soon to keep up with this another member of that leadership team, the Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer, to keep up with it. These are large, not small businesses, but large businesses will need that, and the whole job of prompt engineers now is becoming more and more accepted, and big companies are beginning to recruit prompt engineers and pay them quite a lot of money, actually.
You know, it's interesting, Andy, if there's going to be, so if we think of, let's play that forward. if we think that large companies, and I would agree with you, are going to have a CAIO, for lack of a CIO or chow, then that as a fractional role will
Yes.
come, will evolve probably very quickly. And we're in for a really interesting time, guys.
And it's interesting taking it back to us, bring it back to us as advisors. If we can begin to understand some of this, and provide this as part of an advisory piece for our clients as well, and understand how it's used, etc. Then there's also a case for saying, well, that's added value. You're going to increase your prices due to this, to help them think through the process of AI and build an AI strategy, and maybe help them with some prompts and some prompt engineering, to show the stuff that could be done, and just guide the way, if you like. Because although it's becoming, people like us are getting interested in this, I would suggest to you that the vast majority of our population, still haven't even thought of it, let alone touched it. We're pioneers in this respect. This group of people here, it's still not totally mainstream, and there's still a lot of people, when you talk to them about it, will say, what? Sorry, what do you know? I haven't had time.
Well, Andy,
It's interesting.
It's
Go
scary.
ahead.
I'm going to say it's scary, because what we see on TV is an emotion born out of fear for it taking over the world. Now, that's a separate AI conversation. We're talking about business AI right now. And this conversation this morning stimulated me to say, you know what? I have a client, a very large affiliate, Habitat for Humanity affiliate, that encompasses half of northern New Jersey. So they're considered in the top, say, 5% of affiliates nationally, not for profit, but they run it very professional and they keep growing. And we're halfway through building their 3-year strategic plan and looking to 2030. We have not touched AI yet in the conversation. And I think not only from marketing standpoint, construction management, they are real estate developers and construction managers with a lot of volunteers. I think there's room here to really automate as well as use AI to support that. It's going to be uncomfortable for them, but they want to grow. They want to double their growth by 2030. I think efficiently, without increasing costs greatly, I think this is what we have to look into.
And I think for us that AI piece falls within the technology growth driver. There may have to be an additional key result put there, but the key thing to advise those businesses, it almost becomes an objective, a strategic objective in itself, AI, with key results associated with it. But the best way to do this, to advise your client, if they haven't started this journey, is to say, look, grab a little group of people and let them carve out 2 hours every 2 weeks or something, or whatever they can afford in time, and just play around with the tools out there and become from, because there is a lot of poor tools out there, and you can get, but start to play around, every 2 hours, 3 hours, just play around with the tools, sign up for them, play around with them, and then begin to be familiar with them, and then learn how they can use them in their own business. That's the best way.
Absolutely, Andy. Guys, let's remember how efficient is the average employee, right? So they're what's the number? Like 72%, and that's being optimistic, I think, wildly optimistic. So, which means that 30% of people's time is frankly being misused or frittered away. And if we say to them, hey, I want you to take 10% of your time, and I want you to go work with ChatGPT, solve this problem, come up with prompts, do whatever, go out, explore, play, find, it's that liberal arts. And I think one that's very good for clients. And a couple of things that in your collective comments that have jumped out at me. One, we remain immensely relevant, right? Because we need to educate our clients about a lot of things inside their business, one of which, just one facet of which, is how to harness artificial intelligence, right? So in terms of facilitating group meetings and those dynamics, we still are relevant in terms of analyzing the business. Like, yeah, AI, it's like a marketing program, right? AI is very exciting. Let's figure out what the business is, and then figure out where we could harness artificial intelligence, machine learning to improve efficiency, processes, output, marketing, sales, whatever. So we remain incredibly relevant. And as the general contractor, we need to educate our client about, we need to stay up, and this will be old-fashioned pencil. What a fabulous webinar, guys, it would be. And we're going to focus on this at the summit. What a great webinar to tease out how to educate clients, where the different places to get us as business advisors thinking about, where this is, and to show up in a way that our client doesn't feel overwhelmed. Like there's this tidal wave of information about artificial intelligence coming at them, but we say, okay, let's take this in bite-sized pieces, just as we do with strategy and
Come on in,
execution.
Tim. I'm on a conference right now. Okay.
Oh,
I've got 2 points.
please.
One, well, it's been a half hour and I haven't made a joke yet. So, so just to emphasize the importance of having the appropriate prompt. So I had ChatGPT. I need a bio for myself, so I had ChatGPT do a bio for me yesterday. And you guys probably don't think I'm the second coming of Jesus Christ, do you?
No.
Oh,
Well, ChatGPT does. And on a more serious note, if I can make a recommendation for like a $250 AI course, which it'll help to learn. It speeds up the learning curve, and it talks about a half a dozen different. Does a demo of half a dozen different tools: ChatGPT, Jasper, Midjourney, blah blah blah. So if anyone's ever interested,
Yeah,
Awesome.
sure.
Yes, Dave.
Okay.
Please, if you would please post that in Circle, that would be fantastic.
okay.
Good stuff.
And the point I was going to make, just building on George, right at this moment in time, in this pioneer mindset, we're super valuable, because if we do have an understanding of AI, we're just the small tip of the spear at the moment, and because most of the businesses generally do not. So we're super valuable, particularly at the low mid-market end. Maybe the big companies are beginning to, and maybe have played with it for some time, but definitely the low mid-market end of that channel. I wouldn't have thought so.
Interesting.
With that said, George, I think if we, for our community, Andy, you're developing it, but I assume based on what you just said earlier, Andy, that there must be some experts that are ahead of us that we could bring into some of our clients on a particular small basis. It shows that we're helping our clients. We don't have to rely on us becoming the expert, although we have to be well schooled.
Yeah.
And it could be good work for this consultant and be good for our community.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I haven't seen anybody yet pushing themselves out there as an AI consultant. It will come, I guess. I guess the closer you get to is the software guys, the tech guys, who've taken an interest in AI. But
I have a client who brought someone in. I'll ask him.
Okay, yeah.
Partly related to that.
Coming into the community in June, I hope, who is doing sort of what you just described, Andy. They're strategic consultants, but they're saying, how can we use machine learning to improve your business? And that is, he's pivoted very quickly, and it's a small firm, but it's a very healthy. I mean, we're all small firms, right? But he is. It'll be interesting to see.
And that machine learning is related to the robotic process automation, because to automate, they need to learn. So you learn, it's like us, we learn the process first before we then systemize it. It's the same sort of process, same thinking.
Yeah. Along those lines, this course was created by a guy that I've taken some training from on LinkedIn, but he runs a, I don't know, several $1 million marketing agency, and he's dived into AI head first. He's created at least one tool. I don't know if he's building other tools, and I'm using one of his tools. So,
Do you know, I was saying to George, I was at a conference about 2 weeks ago, took a whole Sunday, and there in this AI, there were 500 people in the room, 500 on live stream. They were charging on average about $400 for that day. But what struck me, in the afternoon, we had two case studies. And the second case study was a consultant like us, but it was a consultant in organizational development, transformational change, effectively. And he was using a company to provide him with leads and then set up appointments, the usual thing. And he looked at that, and as he looked at it and got his head around AI, he discovered that he could do a much better job with much better quality of leads, etc. So he set up a process to do it, an RPA process and so on. And lo and behold, he got better results. So he said, and that's very interesting. I'm getting better results. I'm going to sell that service. He started off the back of that. Within 6 weeks, a new company selling lead generation. Now, what was interesting about that, there was a consultant like us using and discovering AI to provide him with leads and so on, and then saying, I can do that for others. I'm going to set up a completely new business. All done 6 to 8 weeks. And so there's opportunity out there as well in terms of AI. And I thought it was a very interesting case study. And that I can share with the community. I'll share with George, and we share that with the community as well.
That's fascinating, Andy, because you've just moved from shiny object to useful tool, right?
Yeah.
And what we have to do is, be careful of the shiny object. By the way, it's super fun. I used the term play with it earlier. You start playing with it, and it's fun.
It can lead you down some rabbit holes, guys. So.
Exactly. If you think that that Reels and TikTok are sucking people's brains in, this stuff is, you'll find yourself 2 hours later like, oh, wait a second. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating time, guys.
On the subject of this marketing guy that I just referenced, you can imagine any marketing company not being involved in AI, because one of the main things that they have to do is generate content for their clients.
Yes.
So you can imagine the reduction in time that it's occurring with the application of AI to their particular tasks.
Yes.
Well, and what's interesting is to hear my sons, so they're 23 and 22, already talking about, so they're able to, who knows how accurate it is, but they feel like they're able to spot, like, I don't know if that was written by a human. It sounds AI-y, and that's interesting that they're already, they're playing with it enough that they're able to say, I don't think anybody really wrote that. And my son Luke is really concerned. He wants to make sure he's busy applying for jobs. He wants to make sure that his resume does not seem, and his cover letters, he's writing them. He's like, it's got to, they got to know it's me. Even though he could use AI to do it in a fraction of the time. So it's all sorts of nuances.
There are tools that you can put that information in to tell you whether or not it sounds AI or not.
Of course.
Yeah, but the response sounds AI.
Yeah. That's funny.
So this weekend I was doing a toast for my son's wedding reception, and I used AI.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thank you. But gather all the information that they had put in their wedding announcement post and stuff, talking about their story. So it weaved it into the storyline, and I added some content local, that I had everybody say OHIO because they moved to Chicago, whatever. But so it helps from a content and also kind of formatting perspective. And I think it's, it has a huge opportunity for everybody to put your thoughts together, and have someone else write it for you, and then, you know, make it your own, right? I mean, you know, you can tailor this thing. It will learn your style, and it can very well easily adapt to, you know, from more casual, you know, make it from the South, from Louisiana, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of things that could be customized to you that I think when your son's talking about not feeling like it's him, well, you know, with a little bit of work, I'm sure you can get there with the technology. It's that strong of a
absolutely.
adaptive.
Absolutely. And
And
So
Andy had
anyways.
referred me to, you know, Joe, you reminded me, Andy had referred me to a Mike Koenig's seminar that was fantastic.
yes,
If you want to get some really useful instruction, Mike Koenig's is a you know, great resource.
and if you haven't downloaded that AI directory from Circle, do so, because it's a great place to start. But Joe, you raise a great point, because this is mistake number one. People use a prompt in ChatGPT and then take the output and that's it. No, that is very AI. What you need to do is what you have just brilliantly said. You need to feed it with information relevant to what you're doing, and to you as well, information that you set it up to do, this hyper specific prompt that builds an information that is known to you only, and that way you humanize it, and then when it comes back you can make it your own. But the other point is that you can train it for your own voice. Just as if you want to play around with images, if you took 40 photographs of yourself in different light conditions with different expressions, you can load that into some AI software, and then it's you. And so it can be a talking head with you talking, with your facial expressions and so on and so forth. It's very, very difficult. And then with some of them, not all of them, but with some really high-end stuff, it's very difficult to say whether it's you really or not. Is it AI you, or is it you? You know, we're getting that good, and we're only at the tip of it. I think at this conference, the guy said, you know, the old brick mobile telephones we had in the 80s, those massive, great big things. And look, you know, X number of years later, we've got these mobiles here. Well, you know, take that down to almost a nano part of that time, sort of that distance, where that distance for this explosion to occur in AI and what we're playing around with now would seem very archaic in a year or 2 years' time. It's growing that quickly.
They're over 100 million users in 4 months. 100 million.
GPT,
Yeah. And
Which
it
is
took
nothing.
let's see, what's a common, let's just say Twitter. It took them like 4 years to get to 100 million users.
Yeah.
They did it in 4 months.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the founder, the CEO, goes to Congress and says, hey, you guys, you got to figure out how to regulate this, because I don't know where it's going, and I'm scared to hell that it's going to be, you know. And he's like, regulate me, please regulate me, because I don't know where this is going.
No.
So of course, then it could be that he's trying to keep competitors out too. So I don't know.
well,
It's funny.
Well, worse than that, the guy from Google quit, citing an Oppenheimer moment. You know, I've let the genie out the bottle. Now I'm stepping back now, boys. Over to you.
Yeah. Hey guys, I have to bow out in about 3 minutes. This is a fantastic conversation. I will post it obviously in Circle, and I'll post it on YouTube as well. And anything that anyone needs from me before I sign off? Okay, well, that's good news. Okay, well, then I'll keep the conversation going. I'm just gonna, if you see me disappear, that's why.
Yeah.
I might not be on for a few weeks with clients on Tuesdays, just looking at my calendar. But this has been great the last 3 weeks I've been on to really, if you look at the conversations as they continue to grow, I'm glad we have this, George.
Yeah, so am I. Thank you very much, Larry. It's one of my favorite meetings of the week. It's not a meeting, right? It's a conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll, I mean, I know that you're going to try and do something in the conference on AI at that sort of level to get everybody gathered into the idea. And I think we have some ideas about what can be the content of that for the community, which will help them just begin to dabble. I mean, that's what it's all about. Just begin to
Absolutely.
play around with it. Nothing too
So what I
complicated.
thought we might do, Andy, is before the conference, we'll do a webinar, right? And
Yeah.
introduce these concepts, and we could do that relatively soon.
Yeah, we could.
In the next
Yeah.
couple of weeks. And then at the conference, but we can dedicate, if you look at the block of time, we've dedicated a big block of time, which we can shorten. But to, if we workshop doing this, we're all together. I think there are a number of topics that we've actually just covered in this conversation. What impact does it have on our roles? What impact can it have on our clients? Where is it applicable? Never mind what tools should you be using. Those are all, we could probably spend the 3 days of the conference just talking about this, right?
Yes. And also, if you take that approach of, here's the basics.
Mhm.
This is what that formula looks like in terms of the 4 things, and here's a couple of case studies, and look at the strategic aspect of it. I'm certainly playing around with it strategically with clients, and so on, and there's some quite good results from that, etc. I'm sure we could come up with a case study, take everybody through. There's the case study of training as well, still playing around with that and refining that idea of courses and workshops and stuff. So, and then I have a whole series of prompts on the business side around, as I say, the business model canvas and empathy maps, and some fairly lengthy, hyper specific prompts that people can experiment and play around with.
Yes, and when you take, I took the key results or the analysis from a company and fed it in and came up with some really cool, like as you described it, and that's accurate, Andy, is first pass stuff, right? Let's orient our thinking, and it's almost like working with a partner who's lightning fast, right? Someone else to bounce ideas off of, and because it wasn't, but now it provides footnotes. Here's the resource, here's the resource, here's incredibly, it's juicy. It's juicy.
So that could be quite easily built into a case study, which could be, it would be about an hour to explain all of that and show people how it used and the output and so where you started from and where you got to and how it could be used and what you did afterwards, etc., to make it more client related, if you like, more
Absolutely.
more valid. Yeah, great.
All right, guys, I have to drop off.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Anything in closing? All right, Larry, we're gonna miss you if you're not here for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll see you about next Tuesday. 2 days after that, I won't, but this is excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Andy,
guys.
for the AI.
Yeah,
start.
Andy, thank you very much.
Just before you go, just one last thing I just suddenly remembered I've been playing around with, George. Michael Wilkinson, I don't have a version of this book, a PDF version, but his first book, you can download a PDF version. So I took the PDF bit and took a chapter and put it into ChatGPT to say, now summarize that. Now from the summary, build some teaching points for that chapter. So when we come to design, we've already got a head start. See what I've done? I've taken the stuff from the book, put it in, got them to summarize it. Next prompt, build a series of teaching points for that particular chapter. Then build a PowerPoint presentation for that chapter. Then build a participant workbook for that chapter. So it's going to save us.
Why don't you just publish it and take the risk whether Wilkinson finds out or not?
But the thing is this, it's his work and it can be referenced. All we're doing is
absolutely reference,
taking it straight into teaching points. Whereas before we'd have to read it, digest it, and then pick out the teaching points. Whereas ChatGPT gives us this great head start. That I did that in less than less than 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic
Right.
stuff. All right.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Take
Thank you,
care.
guys.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Talk soon. Barry, talk soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, Ed.